given the complexity of these threats, I believe we have to be guided by some basic principles. So let me share those with you today. First, this has to be a shared mission. So much of our computer networks and critical infrastructure are in the private sector, which means government cannot do this alone. But the fact is that the private sector can't do it alone either, because it's government that often has the latest information on new threats. There's only one way to defend America from these cyber threats, and that is through government and industry working together, sharing appropriate information as true partners.
Are you and your family prepared for a grid failure? Shield yourself from blackouts with a home backup system or portable off-grid solar energy system from Off-Grid Depot. Off-Grid Depot also supplies water pumps, DC appliances, and other products for off-the-grid living. Power your prep. Bug out vehicle, shelter, or remote location with a power system from Off-Grid Depot today. Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV, Alternative Media Television. It is Monday, President's Day, February 16th. And sometimes the propaganda is just very easy to detect. You know, you kind of get your bullshit meter out and you're it's easy. It's just right there, right in front of all of our faces. Let me give you an example. Allegedly, according to a Russian security firm, that's no accident, the Pentagon, the State Department's positioning it as if this leak came from Russia, our enemy, so nobody will question it. Allegedly, there was a big heist, kind of along the lines of Ocean's 11, the movie, you know, with Brad Pitt and George Clooney stealing tons of money in Las Vegas. Allegedly, in over 100 banks in over 30 countries, up to $1 billion was stolen by cyber criminals. Yeah, that's right. Cyber criminals made ATM machines spew cash, which we all know this is possible from the late Barnaby Jack, a very famous hacker who showed this, actually I believe in Las Vegas, and then mysteriously died. Very young guy, I think he was around his 30s. He was going to show in the upcoming conference before his death how he was able to, with a couple keystrokes, turn off the pacemakers to millions of Americans' hearts. Just mysteriously died. Kind of like, you know, Michael Hastings, his car, some people think was taken over, which we now know people told us was a conspiracy theory, but can actually be done. We've seen this in recent reports where they can take over your car via Bluetooth and they could crash it into a building, let's say, and potentially get rid of you if they didn't like you. But allegedly, according to the New York Times, which just happens to be a mouthpiece of the Obama administration, at the same time Obama is pushing for internet censorship and internet legislation on the heels of another false flag, the North Korean alleged hack of Sony Pictures, even though it's come out after the fact. Numerous investigators, independent thinkers, journalists, those within the technology community say it's much more likely that it was an inside job at Sony Pictures itself and or the State Department. All of this comes at a convenient time to jam more fear down the throats of innocent Americans. That at any moment, at any time, not only your company, your computer, but the nation's banking system can be hacked. Allegedly over up to $1 billion was stolen. Also interesting about the report, they say, again, it came from a Russian security agency, which we know is just a typical way that they would stage this storyline. They've been doing it for years. Had specifically attacked the banking system in Ukraine, where we're also at war, where the ceasefire that they passed yesterday on February 15th actually has only resulted in more shelling. In fact, I tweeted out a couple of reports via the BBC and NBC saying there is no ceasefire, they're still fighting. I even posted a video on it yesterday. So this comes at a perfect time where not only all this is going on, the false flag Sony hack, this big push for internet censorship, a new executive action, an executive order courtesy of this scumbag at the president of the United States, but also at the same time he's meeting in Stanford to speak with the likes of Tim Cook about Apple Pay and internet security, saying that he needs to control the Wild West. Isn't it convenient that we just happen to have up to $1 billion stolen from over 100 financial institutions around the world, in the United States, in Europe, in the Ukraine, and in Japan, in over 30 countries. Isn't it convenient? So Obama can push his agenda through the mouthpiece of the New York Times, which was the first mainstream bullshit media organization to break the story. So they're just serving this up on a silver platter, folks. You need Big Brother to save you. I mean, with all these hacks, they definitely need to legislate and control the internet. So, they can shut down AM TV, alternative media television. They can shut down and censor the Drudge Report. Of course they need this legislation because they're losing control of the internet. They no longer have their mouthpieces. Let me give you an example. When the Brian Williams story came out that he had lied about his being shot down in a helicopter in Iraq, I was surprised, not by the fact that he lied. I didn't know the guy was still on the air. I mean, I'm being serious. I honestly didn't know Brian Williams still had a Tonight Show. I mean, that's how much of a dinosaur media these big institutions are that have been state-run for years, that are mouthpieces to Barack Obama. It's exactly why they need to legislate the internet and shut down little guys like us, AM TV, alternative media television, and the Drudge Report, which actually, I guess we're not too little because we're moving millions and millions of eyeballs every single month. We're growing into perpetuity, doubling every single year because people are demanding the truth. So of course there's this big push for internet censorship, and it's why we're being bombarded by all these stories, all these alleged hacks, this alleged incident at over 100 financial institutions, not just here in the States, but around the world. God forbid they digitally steal money, which also is kind of interesting because it brings up the concept of money, which really is just a total illusion. I mean, what these alleged hackers did is they, using accounting software that they had learned by video recording the computer screens, allegedly, of these banking institutions and the employees, were able to just switch an account balance from $1,000 and add another zero, and then transfer that money into dummy accounts around the world, or make ATM machines spit money. But I have a question for you. If that's illegal, then how is it that the Federal Reserve can do the exact same thing? I mean, if up to $1 billion was stolen, which actually is not a lot of money at all, it's pretty minute. It's minutia compared to the $4.5 trillion worth of debt on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet that they print digitally by just a keystroke, by just adding, instead of one zero, multiple zeros into infinity. How is that not illegal? But how is it that alleged cyber criminals doing it is? Again, it makes no sense. And it points out what an illusion the whole money system is. And more importantly, the Federal Reserve, how criminal that institution actually is. Our money's not backed by anything, folks. There's nothing behind it. It's not tangible. It's not real. It's fake. They pointed out with this story. So again, I expect more and more of a bombardment of these types of stories, of this type of propaganda, of course, which is very easy to detect. Because again, the president, he's been telegraphing this, folks. It's why they engineered the Sony hack story, false flag. It is why they've engineered this story with cyber criminals allegedly coming from a Russian security firm. They're the ones that broke the news so that, it wouldn't raise an eyebrow, although it's an obvious tactic, courtesy of the State Department, the Central Intelligence Agencies here in the United States, to push for this agenda. It's at the same time that not only President Barack Obama is meeting and speaking at Stanford next to Tim Cook about integrating the Apple Pay system, the mark of the beast, here in the United States of America, and integrating it with the federal government, but also at the same time he's established new independent agencies to regulate the internet, and also signed an executive order against Congress, bypassing Congress once again. It's time that the American people wake up. I mean, honestly, guys, how dumb can Americans be? Can you not connect the dots? This is very easy to detect. It's obvious what the agenda is. It's obvious where the information is coming from. Again, the New York Times, a mouthpiece for the Obama administration, the liberal left. You see, it's these people that we need to be afraid of. It's not Vladimir Putin, as they paint him as the next Hitler, the next boogeyman, the next man out to destroy the world. It's not these other countries. It's not the Middle East. It's not ISIS. Speaking of ISIS, how is it? I have a question for you. How is it ISIS didn't even exist about a year ago, but suddenly it's the biggest story in the biggest topic in regards to mainstream media attention at the moment. How is that possible? A follow-up question, where did ISIS come from? I thought Obama killed Osama bin Laden. I thought Al-Qaeda was over with. How is it possible that we now have a new boogeyman? You see how ISIS is just the equivalent of what Al-Qaeda was to Bush, ISIS is to Obama? It's just a boogeyman they create out of thin air. Not that they aren't real, but that they create out of thin air and propagandize to serve their agenda in the Middle East, in these parts of the world. Again, it's a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool of propaganda. It's a tool being used by the CIA, by the State Department. Just like the Sony hack is a tool, just like this alleged banking hack is a tool. Again, we need to be worried? They actually think that we need to be worried about up to $1 billion stolen from financial institutions? How about the trillions of dollars stolen from taxpayers? How about the trillions of dollars of bank bailouts of these criminals running rampant? None of them going to jail. We should be worried about that. We should be worried about the real issues. We should be targeting the Federal Reserve with an audit. That's where the focus should be. Not on legislating the internet. Not on tearing it apart. Not on pissing out our Constitution. Not on shutting down small independent think tanks like AMTV. I need your support more than ever, folks. Click the links below, support our sponsors, donate to our platform, blow us up this year. Peace. Oh yeah, hard hitting and in your face.